Hi, this is Daniel Rowe with TradeThePlan.com. Been meaning to make this video for about a week now. A few weeks ago, I had made one talking about the low in the ES, which was here, somewhere in here, and I mentioned that we had come down to the bottom of this downsloping channel, and this was a perfect spot for it to turn up and off, and then showing the median line a bit lower, saying that, you know, it could retrace from this midline down to that median line. Anytime we're looking for the next major, in this case a low, I'm connecting from the previous high before the final low to the highest high, and then the parallel from that lowest low. And sometimes the median line will intersect that channel. Now I know these methods may be unfamiliar to some of you, but for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know that this is how we trade. This is how we look for and find all of these major turning points. And it's usually either the channel or the median line, or when they intersect about the same price, you know, in the future. Like if this intersection right here between those two lines were a bit further to the right, then that would be my main target. But because they are a bit spread out here, those are the two different targets. So we did make it down to the median line, and then we got this massive amount of volume that started coming in back here. When we had that really strong sell-off, that's when the big volume started coming in with a 2-bar pattern at that low. Demand is already coming in here, but of course by this time we're expecting it to come on down to the next area, which was lower right here. And so you can see it's a bit less volume at the final low, which is good for a major low. A lot of the selling is dried up, and now the buying is coming in, absorbing all of that selling right at the perfect spot. And then it turns up with a lot of strength early last week, and then Friday with, you know, big up bar retracing over about 50% of this down move. So, or I think it's actually right at 50% of that down move. Yeah, a bit over. And then we made it down to the bottom, perfectly to the bottom of this last down sloping channel. So that's a really awesome low, actually. So I'm going to go through all of these charts. I have a lot of monthly, weekly charts of all of the US indices, stock market indexes, and then all of the sector ETFs for all the US equities sectors. So I'm going to run through these as fast as I can. Try not to spend too much time on any one chart, and show you why I think this is the major low. So I'm going to start off with the Nasdaq, and then I'll work my way through these equities, indexes, and futures, and then all of the ETFs, the exchange traded funds for all the different sectors. So this was the high in the Nasdaq and all of those tech stocks.com boom, with like an 80% decline after that into middle to late 2002. I think it was like 80%. Yeah, pretty massive. So when I just do a channel from high to high and then the parallel from the low, you can see we've come down to that. We've thrown it over a bit, but we've thrown it over into a lot of other areas. So this is a big sell-off indeed, but it's about 30%. So we're definitely in bear market territory, to be sure, but we have a lot of demand coming in from this area. You can see how wide those candles are. So a really strong sell-off, but now the buying is coming back in, and I think at the very least it's going to be chopping back to the upside, probably not making a new low for a long time, if at all. I think the rest of this year and into next year will be heading towards the upside. Maybe not quite to new highs by the end of the year, but I think we're going to be heading in that direction. This is a weekly chart of the futures. Let me just delete everything from the chart. In fact, I'll just hide everything. And redraw that one. So that was what, from this high to that high. So really, just looking back to the left, that is the high before that low to the highest high, and that is the lower median line coming in right there, and then the down sloping channel. I mean, that's Pretty awesome. And look at how much volume came in on that last down bar. Not nearly as wide a range as the previous bar. So about 1.6 times more volume than the preceding bar. A lot of demand coming in on that final down bar on the weekly chart at really the perfect areas. So pretty awesome spot for a major low. And this is just a daily chart. You can see it's the 100% extension of this previous. It's actually through that 100% extension. But it's also the parallel of that trend line from low to low from here. So if I just remove some of this, draw that from scratch, low to low, and that is the parallel that we've pulled back to the top of. So just a ton of areas really coming in at this current low. It's really quite spectacular. And then a big 2-bar pattern to end that down move on the Nasdaq as well as the ES, the S&P 500. So a lot of demand coming in from this area. Now this is a monthly chart of the Nasdaq 100 index. Same areas, but what I want to do is turn this into actually a logarithmic chart. And then Ninja doesn't seem to handle these very well, but you can make it work. So this is a logarithmic chart. The axis is scaled in percentage moves. And I just want to see, I have to use NinjaTrader's trend channel for this one. I just want to see how much room to the upside this chart has, because the S&P 500 has quite a bit of room to the upside, but the Dow may not. That is the widest point, using this as the low, and we've come right up to it, see? But this is also the bottom of the trend line. So if it is going up to new highs, this is the spot to turn up from, for sure. Let's just keep going. That's the Nasdaq 2000. This is the ES monthly, and this is a continuous contract, so it's non-back adjusted. All of the previous contracts are merged together, but it's not back adjusted. And you can see the trend line from high to high. That's what we've pulled back to the top of. This is a monthly logarithmic chart of the ES, and that is the widest point perpendicular to that trend line, and that's what we've thrown over on the S&P chart, but then we have pulled back to the midline here. So another good spot for a low. It's the same channel that it's pulled back to on the weekly, and then this is what I started off with, the daily. We've thrown over the down sloping channel, but this does still look corrective to the downside, and then we made it to the bottom of this down sloping channel here. Quite perfectly, actually, and a ton of volume coming in. So definitely a major low. I'm favoring more to the upside. It's at least going to be going up and sideways for a while, but I'm thinking major reversal back up. We'll see what happens. And then this is the Dow monthly chart, and that's really the perfect channel that we pulled back to. It's also a 38.2% retracement from that last major swing up. Yeah, and then this is the Dow weekly. It's still non-back adjusted, continuous contract. And you can see the area that we've made it to. It's pretty perfect right there. So I'm thinking major low. I mean, it's also the top of that high. It's also the 50% retracement from that first higher low. So yeah. All right, so now this is the S&P 500 with a logarithmic scale, the monthly chart. So I was thinking if we do keep heading higher, the top of that channel would be the major area, but that channel on the Dow, depending on which high you choose for this high. This is a higher high in the Dow. It's a lower high in the S&P 500. That's the low in 1933. I think it's 33 of the last half of 32. 32, yep. July 32. I think the higher low was 33 actually, yeah. So obviously the high in 29. The trend line from high to high is what we've thrown over. That's what we had hit before at that previous high. Now we've thrown that over. And then to the upside, we have broken this channel. Or no, sorry, that's not the one that we broke. We broke this one. So I'm actually thinking that we're going to make it up to the top of that channel. Both of these, that big channel. Let me just delete this one. Yeah, that's what I want to see it do. I want to see it make it up around here over the next couple of years. Upwards of 45,000. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much more than what's been happening typically over the past decade or so. And this is zoomed in a little bit on the Dow. If I were to connect it to the highest high, then we've thrown the top of that channel over, but using the widest perpendicular point perpendicular to that trend line, we still have room to the upside. So that's really the next major target right there, somewhere up above 42,000. And then that's the midline that we're turning up from, which was the midline here as well. Well, looking back to the left, but the fact that it lines up with a previous swing point is always a good sign for it being respected in the future. Just one more thing to add to your point scale, let's say. Your ranking of a line. That's enough of those. I'm long crude oil since Thursday, actually. I'll get to that in a moment. Let's start with the gold ETF. Sorry, not gold. It's gold Miners Gdx. So I think we have some room down to these lines. For the metals and mining, we're right in the latter part, the lower half of this flag here. So definitely an area to expect some demand to come in. We've thrown over the upsloping areas though. Next one down is quite a bit lower. In fact, I would use the median line there. That's a really strong downsloping channel, so it probably won't make it to the bottom of that anytime soon. In fact, I think it's done, honestly. When you see the rest of these, you'll see why. So this is the energy ETF. Put that on a daily chart. Actually, I'll do that in a moment. First, show you the high that we had in oil. So this is just the energy ETF. It correlates with the price of oil fairly well, but it's also made up of oil stocks. Beautiful downsloping channel right there. Anyway, yeah, the same, well, not necessarily exactly the same, but a similar channel on the crude oil monthly chart gives us that most recent high that we've had in oil. This is the bottom of the channel that we've hit. So I'm thinking this is a pretty good spot for a major swing low. I don't think it's going to be the final low though. I'm looking for a push up and then at least one more wave down, after which I would expect more up. So yeah, I'm thinking something like the bottom of that channel, like go up back into here and then down to that downsloping channel. Oil and gas exploration, and that's the bottom of the channel that we pulled back to. This is real estate ETF. Pretty nice move up since the crash in 2007 and 8, with a massive dip back here during COVID. So yeah, I'm thinking a move, if it does come lower, this is going to be the spot that I would look for. So this does not necessarily favor a low being in, other than the fact that it's a 50% retracement down. It's thrown over the downsloping channel. It's back inside of this high. If it does come lower, I would expect it to go up into here, and then that would be the spot I would be looking to get long from. if it makes it there. This is the Home Builders ETF. That down move has some room to the bottom of the upsloping channel. Not a lot though. I would do a parallel from the lowest close, which is about right there. So if it does come lower, that would be the spot right in there. It's also a 61.8 retracement and about a 100% extension. $161.8 of that move. Okay. All right. This is the industrial ETF. This is materials. This is financial. Yeah, if it does make it lower, that midline would be the next spot. It's already hit the spot that I'm looking for, that upsloping channel. And the materials, same thing, just shy of it, barely. So yeah, if it does come down a little bit lower, that's going to look even better. So maybe we do come down and make one more low, but I'm sure some stocks will. Many stocks will. I think we're in the process of bottoming out. This one is just shy of it. The financial ETF, XLF. This is the banks ETF. This one's pretty fascinating. So this is the technology ETF. And the area that it's come down and tagged is perfectly that parallel of this trend line from low to low, that one right there. It's the 50% retracement of this last really strong push up, and it is the 38.2% retracement from this low, the starting point of that trend line and channel, and then we've pulled back inside of the parallel of that trend line from low to low back to the high in 2000. So we pulled back inside of that. This is really a good spot for the Nasdaq stocks to be turning up from. And we even have a massive churn bar on the weekly chart, which is pretty awesome. And it's a really good looking downsloping channel that we've made it to the bottom of as well. So that's the look that I'm looking for right there. And swing trading is really where it's at. I mean, this is how we should all be trading. Perfect 50% retracement, and you can see the big churn bar at the final part of that move, and how perfect the hit of the parallel of that channel was. It's quite lovely. Semiconductors ETF. See, we came through the bottom of that channel as well, but then we've almost hit the trend line from high to high. And then we did hit perfectly the bottom of that downsloping channel. So this looks like it could still come a little bit lower. So yeah, I mean, some of these just have the most incredible moves up. Well, yeah, I guess they would, wouldn't they? How many trillions have we printed? More than you think. It's a lot more than 12. Yeah, some of these moves are just incredible, but technology especially is just through the roof, obviously. So that's the final low here to the left. So we've moved about the same point move down as we did from back here. Consumer staples. So this is a really good spot to be finding support, as it currently is. Yeah, I think we're headed back up. And then this is the utilities stocks. We made it to the top of that upsloping channel and then pulled back to the median line here. The midline. Even utilities are through the roof. Healthcare. It's turned up really strong. It's got all the signs of a major swing low. Tons of volume included. This one is looking pretty rough though. That's the retail chart. But then look at the move up that we've had. I guess a lot of that was, well, I'm not going to speculate as to what it was, but we did get a lot of money pumped into the market and people were spending it because it was put out to people that were spending it, right? And which is why we have so much inflation. It's not like the money that was sent out to people went straight into the stock market or invested elsewhere. It was sent to people that basically live from paycheck to paycheck, like the vast majority of Americans do nowadays, and was immediately put into circulation. So all of those hundreds of billions of dollars, probably more than $1 trillion, put into circulation immediately. I don't know why they would expect anything other than what we see, and then to try to blame it on Russia, like how stupid do they think we are? Well, I guess they think we are all fools. But yeah, I mean, you guys know inflation was going through the roof before any mention of Ukraine. It's a pretty good look for a major swing low. That's a higher high, right? Yeah. And there it is. So retail had a massive sell-off. And then, yeah, 43%. And then discretionary spending is similar. Is that the 100% extension? Yep, the warning line, sorry, the 100% warning line. That's 100% of the width of that channel, subtracted from the bottom, from the channel line. 61.8 retracement of that entire move up from the low here, and then 38.2 from the lowest low on the chart, between 38.2 and that 61.8. It's right at the 61.8. Huge volume coming in. So yeah, I'm not going to say that it's a shoe-in for more up, but it looks to me like we've got big money coming into the market at these lows, so I would expect a push up before heading lower if we are going to head lower. But again, on the Nasdaq, like a lot of big stocks are perfectly at major areas like Apple is. Look at the weekly. Look at how much volume has come in to the weekly chart in Apple. It's huge. But yeah, back to like the Nasdaq and the Dow. The Dow is not quite as pretty as the S&P and the Nasdaq, but it's still at major areas for more up. For the major low, it's just not nearly as pretty as the Nasdaq is. Alright, so crude oil. This is the area that we had hit sloping down. So I'm connected to the lowest monthly closing price right there. And this is non-back adjusted continuous contract. So if you guys remember, that, I'm sure there are plenty of videos on YouTube where I'm talking about finding this low and telling everybody, you know, buy crude below 10. We just weren't down there for very low. I think I said even below 15 or something on the way down. And then it exceeded my expectations for sure, everybody's. I think it went negative for a day, the last day of that last contract. Last couple of days. Most volume ever traded. I think it's going to have a hard time getting up and out of this downsloping channel. So I think we'll be a couple of years between 70 and 130. We'll see. Anyway, this is the back adjusted contract, and that is the 100% extension warning line. Yeah, this is where I got long. I have a video of this. I'm just waiting to get my first contract filled, and then I'll make this video public why I entered there. But see, we've pulled back to that parallel, and then it's also the perfect trend line from low to low, like here on the hourly chart. It's perfect, like to the tick. So I bought a higher low, and I'm looking for it to make it back up just a bit higher. That second contract is way too far away. Like, come back into this high, basically. Gold is working its way up. I've been watching this for years, but this is either A down, B up, and C wave down, or we're making that big third wave up. Obviously I'm favoring upside. I think it's doing like a triangle for the wave 4 here. So probably up and off of the bottom of this channel, and then a retracement down for the end of that fourth wave, like a little triangle, something like that. 6E is not too interesting on the larger chart. I mean, it's pointing down, down, down. Like it's already broken out of the major upsloping areas. So yeah, I'm looking to get below parity finally, and then probably down to the bottom of that channel, which is almost hard to believe, isn't it, for the dollar? All right, I'm going to end it here. Hopefully it helps you a little bit. All right, have a good one.